All right, factoring to find solutions. So the first thing we always need to look for is a GCF. So we need to figure out what number the largest number that I can divide 3 and 12 by, and that's going to be 3. So you're going to have 3 on the outside, and then we would have x, because 3 divided by 3 is 1, leaving just the x, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So you only have one factor because you only have one variable, and that is the x. So this is our only one factor that we have. So we can take that factor and we can set it equal to 0 and solve. So your solution is only one solution, x equals -4. The next one, find that GCF that we're looking for. And we can divide, we can't divide 1 and 3 by the same number, so the only thing that they have in common is an x, so we can factor out the x. So that would leave us with x and then x plus 3 equals 0. Then we can take each of those factors, set them equal to 0, x equals 0, and x plus 3 equals 0. The first one's already solved. Then we need to get x by itself for this one. So x equals -3. So your solutions are x equals 0. That was a terrible arrow. X equals 0 and x equals -3. All right, we want to look for that GCF first. So what number can I divide 4 and 24 by? I can divide them both by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so that just leaves us with the x squared. And then -24 divided by 4 is -6. Then we want to look again for the variables, because they both have an x. So we can take out an x from both of them. So you would have x and then x minus 6. Then we can take each of those and set them equal to 0. X equals 0 and x minus 6 equals 0. The first one is already solved, so we just need to solve the second one. So x equals 6. So your solutions are x equals 0 and x equals 6. All right, we're going to look for that GCF first. I can divide 15 and 30 by 15. 15 divided by 15 is 1, so we're just going to bring down our x's. And then we have 30 divided by 15 is 2 with the x. So we'd have a 15 on the outside. And now we need to figure out what can we divide or what can we factor out for our variables. So we can look. I can take out or factor an x from each of those. So that would leave x on the outside and 1x plus 2. I can take each of those factors and set them equal to 0. And solve. So your solutions are x equals 0 and x equals -2. And for this one, find our GCF first. I'm going to try dividing them by 3. 18 divided by 3 is 6. 30 divided by 3 is 10. And then I want to look for the variables that I can factor out. They both have an x. So we're going to have x and, oh, I didn't even do that right. Before that, we can factor out again for a greatest common factor. So what can I divide 6 and 10 by? I can divide both of those by 2, which would leave me with 3x squared plus 5x. So then I would have to factor out my variables. So I would have x, and that would leave me with 3x plus 5. Take each of those, set them equal to 0, and solve. All right, so your solutions are going to be x equals 0 and x equals -5/3. Last but not least, look for that GCF first. We're going to divide 12 and -4. So we're going to divide them both by 4, which would give us 12x squared minus x. And then I want to factor out a variable. So we can factor out an x. So we would be left with x and 12x minus 1. Take each of those factors and set them equal to 0. And solve. And remember, it's okay to have a fraction. So your solutions are x equals 0 and x equals 1/12.